Philosophers talk to their times. I'm afraid Spinoza has one last thing he feels he must get off his chest about the problems of the stadtholder in his day, 17th century Holland, in case you wondered, and our problems. No, that deep problem of why, once a people have created the least of men to be a living deity, they must then be such a menace and harry themselves and the world, driving them hither and thither until in their madness they do not know where to go. That is a problem that I think exercises the finest minds, for it is so hard to understand. But let us begin to think of an explanation. Firstly, I want two things to be given to me. The first comes out of what I said yesterday, that the initial power of the great leader, who is no great leader, lies not in their power of words, but in the very sympathy that they inspire in their followers. They appear to be vulnerable in a world of power, and that vulnerability reflects then their followers. But you need to understand more things about their followers. This group of people are often those, I find, who are disadvantaged in some way or imagine themselves to be so. So in my day, it was an alliance of the very, very wealthy, the stadtholders, who, De Witt, the finest prime minister I ever lived under, had disadvantaged. And it was also an alliance of those small farmers who his wars and grand policies had made poorer. It was then an alliance not just of the great, but also of the small. But both of them felt themselves to be disadvantaged in some way. And more than that, were gripped with a certain sympathy for each other and for themselves. They already then felt themselves apart from the rest. And behold, and depend upon it, any group that the politicians forget will always be amenable to this charm. Abandoned towns, and who knows what demons grow in them, in the minds of men. And also, depend upon it, this is the danger of the over-rewarded. It is perfectly possible for the very richest of men who feel somehow they never merited what they earned, which is most of them, that they got it by family inheritance, one way or t'other, or corruption or crookery. They often feel themselves at a disadvantage, for they always hear their power will ebb, that people will spot their trick. They then always feel a sympathy for themselves and for their caste, a sympathy that is catching. This group of people that often, I find, can involve some of the nicest elements in society as well as many of the worst, are bound together in that tricksy, false bound of sympathy that creates them not just one with the other, but begins to create them a people apart. A people who, when they are lauding a great chief who no one else recognizes, will already feel themselves to be apart. That is the first thing I hope is given to me. Now the second could be seen to be unkinder, but in truth, I mean no unkindness by it. It is just this, that this group of people are often not the most reflexive souls in all society. They are men of action, of practice, or in the case of the leaders, of just mere corruption. Men who live in the dark, who understand then not the world of abstract truth, not the world of reason, and therefore do not grasp the kind of complex tools that are truly necessary to understand the world. They then tend to react to what they notice. And as they are not stupid, they will notice many things that others who are caught up in the worldly great affairs of state do not notice. They will notice things, but not be able to explain them. For example, foreigners may be invited in by some great ruler to perform some task, slaves and the like. And these folk, unreflexive, feeling their own poverty, wonder if it is the strangers that has caused it. For they were not poor before the strangers came in. And in truth, of course, it is not. Their poverty was created by the greed of their leaders. But they see not that, for they do not see the money. They merely see the strangers' souls. And so you can see where this goes. A people who feel themselves already apart. A foolish, wounded leader who has no great schemes or dreams, but rather listens, and they do listen, to that which their people say, that which their people hate, that which those they wish to have power of want to do and to blame, and they blame them. And then that intoxication of power takes over. For this group of folk, these poor folk who always felt themselves at the end of society, suddenly are told that they are right, that all their suspicions were true. There was a conspiracy of the foreigners against them, and all they have to do is eradicate it. And they see then that conspiracy through the endless welter of sympathies that they feel, directed somehow at their great chief, at their great leader, as somehow that conspiracy was out to take him and to take them. This madness of the mind is but the smallest of all possible leaps. Once that corrosive poison of selective sympathy. I feel sympathy for those who are most like me. That is natural. But I feel sympathy for those who are most like me and I imagine are like me, and no one else. For it is what breeds us a people apart. Oh, that is monstrous. Necessarily monstrous. More so, it is in the clear political interest of the demons who lead, the foolish demons who lead such souls, to have policies that defy sense, defy reason, defy in the end even humanity. Because in getting their followers to howl for the truly terrible and desire it, they become even more a people apart, even more unreachable by reason and by kindness, gentleness, or observation. The politics of being the great leader when you are little more than a child demands this much. Moreover, those who felt themselves disadvantaged by the old political truths, the great verities that had them as small men, then made them feel so much pity for themselves, are going to be endlessly open to mad policies, fever dreams, and worse. Because they will not see why these fevered policies were never done. They will not understand that. Moreover, they will see in the old system only what held them down. They are then endlessly open to impossible schemes, to dreams, no, to nightmares, that in their sober, sane mind they would of course reject, but all caught together as one chosen people under God. No doubt in their craziness they accept. Well, it was true in my day. I doubt it will be different in yours. Why would it? This was the screaming mob then that pulled down a great prime minister and replaced him with what? A crippled scion of a bankrupt family who had nothing to give his people and never did. Merely sorrow and endless war. How then do we cope in the world where such mobs become the norm? How? Well, your political systems as they exist clearly cannot save you. Why would they be able to? In many ways, they created the problem in the first place. Do not look for them for a solution. No. As I always tell you at this point, it is only in your humanity, only face to face, one by one, soul by soul, essence by essence, can you save those that are otherwise lost to demons. It is never easy, but it is never impossible. All right, I think that I am done.